Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza and Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Today is episode 87, and we are very excited to have one of our very own A to Z directory members with us today, Kelsey. Kelley, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
We are so happy to have you here. The story of Kelsey being on the podcast goes a little something like this. If you guys remember in one of our episodes previously, we had started talking about bringing on some of our amazing A to Z directory members who have their own full-fledged businesses and are creatives. And Kelsey basically tackled me via email. And
you had no choice.
I had no choice. It was like, I have to be on. I would really love to talk to you guys and just be part of it. And so we brainstormed an amazing topic for you guys today, and we're basically just going to be talking about how there is room for everyone at the table. This is something that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear the phrase, of course, in the creative community. I think we hear the phrase community over competition all the time, but I don't know. We kind of like to think of it as like a table, and everyone is more than welcome to join. There's just something visually so friendly about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to introduce Kelsey real quick and read her little bio she gave us. So Kelsey is the owner of Kelley Designs and is passionate about serving others with her gift of watercolor and love of stationery. And in 2018, she turned her side hustle into a full-time business, and it wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Biz Birthday Bash gals, which is like the sweetest thing. Thank you, Kelsey.
Oh, you're so welcome.
She is a self-taught stationer, artist, and calligrapher serving clients all over the U.S. So, Kelsey, we're just very excited to be talking about this with you today. And thank you for reaching out immediately and making this happen.
Yeah, you guys, see, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. All you gotta do is email us, and we would love to chat with you. Just throwing it out there. So, but Kelsey was the first one to do it, so here she is. And what's really fun is we've all hung out together in person before, because Kelsey and Elizabeth both came to a watercolor class I had at my family's farm. We all got to hang out and paint with Papa G, and it was just great. So that was such a good day, you guys. I miss it.
I know. Oh, so fun.
Yes. So now it's like full circle coming back to the podcast. So yeah, we're super excited to chat with you. But let's just talk a little bit about your background. Can you tell us what you did before you became a stationer?
Yes, of course. So before I started doing this full time, and even before I kind of was doing this as a side hustle, I worked at a mortgage company for almost 10 years as like a loan processor. So really exciting things.
Very creative.
Yeah. So I was there pretty much right out of college. I wasn't even 20 years old yet when I started working there. And I had been there ever since. And then, I started this business, but that was my home. I loved that place.
I like how you said so casually. And then, I just started this business. But can you tell us a little bit of how that kind of came about?
Yeah. A lot harder than it sounds. I did make that sound laissez-faire. I just started a business. And then, how you do.
As one does.
Yeah, so a big part of our story is that we were hardcore about paying all of our debt off. Our student debt, we had taken out some consumer debt. We had a car and a little bit on a credit card. So we were huge Dave Ramsey fans. And during that time of us being how they call you gazelle intense, we were just trying anyway to find extra money. And so I really did. I mean, I kind of knew I was a creative person, but I had never done anything for other people. It was just little things for myself, around our house, little, signs and silly stuff. But yeah, I think I just had said to a couple friends, hey, I'm trying to, they knew our journey and they knew our story. And I was I'm trying to make some extra money. Is there anything that I can paint for you or do like write for you. I don't know. And so it just kind of grew from me talking to my friends, and I had a couple of friends that were getting married, and I offered to do their envelopes, like envelope calligraphy. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just going to try this, and I'm not going to charge them anything at first. And I'm just going to do this for free just to get some, traction and to see if it's even something that I think I could do, because I knew there was an audience there for envelope calligraphy just because I had seen it on Instagram. And so I did it for a couple of friends, and they ended up paying me even though I told them not to, which was so sweet. And it just grew from there. And really, I had no plan. I just kind of did stuff, and the envelope calligraphy really stuck, and it was really popular. And that's kind of how it launched me into this business.
Tell us, what were you charging per envelope back in the day?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't even know, but it couldn't have been like $2. I mean, it was probably like $1. I mean, seriously. And this was probably in 2016 or 17. So, yeah, not a lot. That barely covered the cost of the envelope, much less everything else.
Right, all the time and everything that goes into it. Because I feel like the standard now is like, it's like $4.50. I know people who charge like $5, $6 an envelope. And so, luckily, as an industry, I think we have grown. Like, people communicating on Instagram and stuff have made people realize that, oh, you don't need to charge $1 or $1.50. There's always going to be people on Etsy who are doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But you just gotta stick to your pricing and do your thing.
I think too, like if you do that for long enough and you're actually trying to make it something sustainable, you can't. You have to charge more, because there's no way that you can propel yourself into something that actually sustains you and brings a profit. So I mean, I fully believe if you're charging that, you're never going to be, profitable. It's just impossible unless you have like 14 arms. Then but.
And that's the end of the episode. Thank you.
I want to go back to something else you said too, Kelsey, that made me laugh internally when you said it, because you were like, like we had our debt-free journey because of this, and we had a car, and then you kept talking. And I was like, well, like a lot of people have a car. So did you mean that you had a car payment that you just didn't need? Just to clarify for our audience.
Oh no, we walk everywhere now. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
we have a car.
He's like, wait, what?
I legit believed you for a second. You meanie. I know you have a car. You've freaking driven to visit me before.
I know, silly. You silly girl. No, we had a car payment that I misspoke. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just made me laugh because when you said we had a car, I was just like, so for people listening, I don't want them to think that you can't have a car.
Oh yeah, sorry, you guys. I meant a car payment. Yes, thanks for clarifying, Liz. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people do sell their cars though during that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that conversation has even come up from Will and I now, like given that we both work from home, and we're kind of like, why even do we have two?
Yeah. I mean, people up north in New York and like Chicago, they don't have cars. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, both of ours actually, like, we own outright. So I think that for us is like a big reason where it's like, oh, we don't feel, we're not like paying to just have something sit there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a whole nother thing, talking about like getting debt free and all that. But I know that was such a big part of your story.
Oh, yeah, it was. It really was. And that's kind of like, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but being debt free was a huge reason why I was able to do this full time without breaking a sweat, and not being worried about anything. Yeah, so it's a huge part of my story for sure in the beginning.
Yeah. And then how many years have you been full time now?
So this August 2021, it will be 3 years.
Okay.
Yay! Congrats.
Thank you.
When you're debt free like that and you're going full time, I mean, there's just so much less pressure, like you're basically, instead of starting in the negative, you're starting from zero. So it's just so much easier to build from instead of like being behind.
Yes.
Because it's super scary when you're full time and you just don't really know, like you don't have that set paycheck anymore.
Oh,
so you're trying to figure it all out and get money coming in the door. And you already have a little bit of that scarcity mentality anyway when you first start out. So I can imagine that would just be amplified if you're also trying to pay off debts while continuing to sustain a business, I'd be like, all right, $10 for envelope calligraphy. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just worked on moving the boat closer to the dock. And once I felt comfortable taking that leap, I did it. So, yeah.
So with preparing for full-time, were there any steps you took where you're like, okay, this is what I need to have in place before I can officially, get out of the boat once I'm at the dock?
Yeah. So I knew obviously what I was making at the mortgage company. And so I would have liked to get as close to that monthly paycheck as possible. So the steps were just to set goals to, what I needed to do in order to bring that income in. Like back then, when I first started, I wasn't really doing wedding invitations. It wasn't a huge part of my business. And thankfully, that's changed now because of the A to Z directory and all of the knowledge and stuff that you guys have just been so generous with helping people, realize. But I was mainly doing like the envelope calligraphy and then watercolor portraits and paintings for people. So I just knew like, this is how many I need to sell for this month in order to move that boat closer to the dock. And, thankfully and just keeping my eye on my sales month to month and seeing that growth. And it's like, I'm not trending down, I'm only trending up. So there would be no reason if I keep doing what I'm doing, especially if I can do it full time, that I wouldn't continue to trend up. That's how it works. So it was just setting those goals each month and, doing my best to execute and make it happen.
Did you have a lot of late nights then? Like
Oh, yes.
coming back from work?
Oh, yes. Many.
All you were doing,
Yeah. Towards the end, it was pretty bad. I told Alden, I was like, I feel trapped. I feel like I just can't do this anymore, and he was like, just hang in there. We've only got like one more month. And like, as soon as we pay that last debt payment, you can quit. So we had like an end goal, but yeah, many late nights, many 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then getting up and going to the mortgage office at 8 a.m. It was a lot for a while, but that didn't last forever, and I knew it wouldn't, so that helped.
So was your first like day and week of being full-time, did that feel liberating to you because you were like, I already have so much on my plate, I have enough to fill my time? Or did you still feel that kind of like void where people are like, what the heck did I just do? I know everyone processes their first like full-time day and week differently. I'd love to hear how it went for you.
It was very liberating. For us, our goal was to become debt-free. That went above everything. I feel like if that wasn't as important to us, I could have probably quit a lot sooner just because it was so much. But we had the goal and we wanted to get there. So yeah, as soon as I was able to quit and go full time, I was ready. I was more than ready, and I felt very liberated and free.
Mhm.
And the chains of debt was gone, and so it was like that was very freeing. And just knowing that as soon as that was done, I could totally propel into what I was passionate about and actually enjoy doing. And now I have no income cap. Like I'm not in this box of a corporate job. I have control, and it's just very liberating.
Yeah, I totally felt the same way. Like even though mine was like being kicked off instead of like making the decision for myself, but I never would have made the decision for myself because I did love my job at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, literally the first thing I thought when they were like, everyone in this magazine is let go. Except Cammie, she's here for 2 more weeks. But anyway, they were like, I was like, oh, thank God, I finally have time to work on all these wedding things I'm doing. Like, I was like excited about hearing that I was fired. So I was like, that's a good sign.
Yes, that's when you know.
And I was like, this was the Lord, like being like, okay, this is what you're doing now. Like, I know you can't do it on your own, so I'm gonna like literally fire you. And I was like, thank goodness. And it was like nonstop since then. But yeah, that was like a really good sign of, and you're so right about like the control thing. You're like, I can make as much as I want or as little as I want. It's not like a 2% raise every year. It's like, you can be like, how am I going to like, I really want to make more money this month or whatever. What can I do to like move that needle? Like you can kind of, I don't know, play with it. It's really fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, y'all are both like lucky in the way that you felt, at least. Okay, I will say I felt freedom too, but I ultimately was like half terrified by what I had done.
Yeah.
I was like sitting there the first day and I was like just at my desk in my office, which at the time was like literally a desk and a chair and me because we hadn't been in Georgia that long, like, but a year, and still hadn't, newly married, hadn't collected a lot of furniture, just being like, what have I done? And what am I supposed to do today? I think that was my biggest thing was like, I don't have this like list anymore that's been given to me. You kind of have to like train yourself out of that, like how to strategize your own day as opposed to somebody else presenting it to you with like a list of tasks. So
I will say I miss that sometimes for sure, Elizabeth. I have times where I'm like, what am I doing? And like, if I haven't booked a client in a couple weeks and I just have panic sets in and I'm just like, am I going to hit my goals this month? Are we going to be okay? And if Alden's like, yes, we're going to be fine. Like, it'll all be fine. But no, I have those times too, for sure, Elizabeth.
Okay. That's good.
We all do. We all have like those panic moments where we're like, oh my gosh, this was the stupidest decision. I'm like, just someone come in and tell me what to do, even though I literally hate people do that. But it would be nice sometimes to not have to think all the time.
Yeah. I remember somebody in the A to Z directory group asked about this really recently because she was basically saying like, hey, my first full-time day is coming up like next Monday or something like that. Does anyone have any advice? And I was like, give yourself grace because if you're totally freaked out, like it's okay. Like if you just spend the first day like freaking out, like what have I done? And I was like, but if you can make like a list of like the 3 things that you need to do that day to give yourself some semblance of direction, like that's a good place to start. So I'd have to follow up with her and see how it went because I do think she's full-time at this point. But it's just like funny. I just always love hearing everyone's stories about how they've done it. And I think for you too, like Kelsey, just like working to that point for so hard for so long, you're like chewing at the bit at the end. Like you're like, let me go, please. Like you're like begging Alden. You're like, please, like we'll still pay it off. Just like let me like quit now.
I know. It was great.
So I'm trying to think of like timeline to Kelsey, like when we connected with you on social media. Do you remember like when you found Cammie and I in Biz Birthday Bash? And like when was Cammie's workshop? Now, like I don't even remember the years anymore.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh my goodness. Guys. So listen, you guys, Cammie's workshop, I remember this and you'll know why, was July of 2017, I think, or 2018?
It's one of those. I think it's 17.
Okay. July of 2017. Okay. Well, then, yeah, okay.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, it was either 2017 or 2018 because I remember that we went on that trip to Gatlinburg, and that is when we made our last debt payment, was when we were in the hotel in Gatlinburg.
Oh my gosh.
So it would have definitely been 2018 then.
Yeah,
Kelsey.
I think it was 2018.
You went full time.
Yeah, okay. Oh. Yeah, so it was like a little celebratory trip for that, and then I got to do the watercolor workshop, which was such a blast. I learned so much from you and Papa G. It's awesome.
So then, if you can think even farther back than that, like when when do you think you would have like started? No, this is okay because I'm like not the best with dates either, so I always have to like backtrack.
Yeah.
When do you think you started like following Cammie and I? Like, were you one of the people at our very first webinar in 2016, or did you find us after that?
No, I found you guys after that. I'm trying to think because I had been following you, Elizabeth, before Cammie, and then I somehow discovered Cammie, and then, you guys started Biz Birthday Bash. But I remember hearing you guys had talked about your first Biz Birthday Bash, and I wasn't there for that time, but your second, like, anniversary that you guys had is when I think I kind of came on board. So whatever year that was, it was maybe 3-4 years ago. Gosh, that's crazy. But
okay. Yeah, because I think, so we did our Biz Birthday Bash webinar, our very first one, the fall of 2017.
Yeah.
So maybe you found us like a little bit after that because obviously you knew of Cammie in 2018 if you attended her workshop.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, back then, just on the old Instagrams.
I know. And now it's like truly, I consider like both of you to be 2 of like my dearest best friends. We're all like,
it's so cool.
Originally like Facebook and Instagram friends, basically.
Because you guys met on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. Which is like
really makes us sound old. I'm realizing really makes us sound old. Can I permission to go on a tangent for just a second?
Yes. Permission granted.
Apparently, this is a thing now, guys, that like if you have a side part, it means you're old.
Oh yeah, what's that about?
This is about this like thing that was started on TikTok, which of course is like mostly Gen Zers. And there was like this whole challenge, like I think it went around last summer. I was like kind of doing some research last night, and it was like part your hair like in the middle. Like I guarantee it'll look better. Well, the funny thing is like if you've worn a side part for years, you can't do it because your hair's used to like laying a certain way. So like one side's really lopsided. And so all the Gen Zers are like poking fun at millennials, basically being like, you can't wear a center part because like you're old. You've been side parting your hair your whole life.
Old.
Oh, that's and hilarious. It just like cracks me up because it's like I also feel like that generation's just not on Facebook. And so it made me laugh when I was like, we met on Facebook. And I was like, and that really dates me as a person.
Yeah, it's like the side parts, skinny jeans, and the laughing face emoji, which I'm like really old because I'll use the little sideways laughing face emoji, which I'm sure is like the crypt keeper over here with that. So
you're like, Granny?
I know. They're like, oh, Granny Cammy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'll never be able to stop using the laughing face emoji.
What do you use in place of that?
Yeah, like how do you express yourself?
How do you express
Here's
laughter?
What I've learned that what you use instead of like the laughing face, you use skull, cry face.
Oh, okay. That's too much work.
I don't like that.
If 4 emojis equate the one emoji, just use the one emoji. I don't get it.
Nobody got time for that.
But it's like I'm dead, I'm crying, but it like equals like the laughy face. Who knows? I don't. Will and I were like howling last night. We were just like laughing as we like read all these articles about like the kids these days, guys. The kids.
The kids these days.
Oh my Atlanta.
I'm 49.
I know, right? I was like, I haven't even hit 30 yet, and I feel so
31,
old.
you guys.
You are Granny Cammy.
I am Granny Cammy. I'm going to be 32 this year.
Oh my goodness, Granny Cammy.
I know.
You look hot for a granny. You're a hot granny.
Oh, thanks, hot granny.
I feel like there's probably something that dates every generation, right? And like the fact that we have social media now has like dated us really quickly because of like how younger people or high schoolers, whoever, use it today. But I'm sure there's something like that. You know, there's probably been something like that for every generation. Like back in the day, they're probably like, Mom and Dad, stop reading that newspaper. It makes you look old.
All right, let's bring it back around for everyone who's listening. I was like, guys, we don't care. So since we're talking about room for everyone at the table, Kelsey, can you tell us too, how have your competitors actually been a really big asset for you?
Ooh, yes, I love this question. I would say it's because, you know, there's always going to be people that are going to be competitive in not a good way. But, you know, I have tried to be intentional about surrounding myself, especially starting this business, with people who aren't intimidated or scared of the quote unquote competitors, you know, that like you guys are so generous with your knowledge of just like, you know, because you guys are like a step above me or a couple steps above me. And it's always good to seek out counsel and learn from people that are where you aspire to be. And it only helps you grow. And so, yeah, like, I guess you can consider you guys my competitors, but I just think that that's like not a good mindset to have in viewing other people as competition. I mean, it's like that rising tide society quote where it's like, you know, something rises all tides or something.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
Which was around long before they started using it.
Yeah.
I think they called themselves Rising Tide because of that.
Oh, yeah.
That phrase.
I love that. But it's just like, I remember when I first started out, I really looked up to people that were really just like excelling in the industry, like Jenna Rainey. And she was kind of like the one that propelled my like love of watercolor. And then joining like the calligraphy summit way back when I first started, you know, investing in you guys' A to Z directory and your contracts just kind of helped my business go that one step further. And so all of these people could be considered competitors, but that's not really going to benefit having my mindset as looking at people like competitors. I look at it, you know, asset is such a great way to look at that because as long as you have people around you that don't have that mindset as well, we can all help each other out. And I mean, there's like 7 billion people in the world. Like, we're going to be fine. There's enough to go around.
Yes. I love that. You took that question exactly where I wanted you to go with it. So I was over here like gleefully being like, yes, she's like doing it.
Yay.
Because you're like, I'm not sure I'd use the word competitors. And I was like, yes, Kelsey, like drive the point home. I love it. Like,
woohoo.
It's so true. It is so true. Like when I realized this, I think it just opened up the entire world for me in a different way, where I was like, I don't need to be like tiptoeing around people and scared of other people and viewing them as something that could harm me. Like, why not view it as community that can only help me, especially when it comes to referrals and stuff. I mean, I refer people all the time because I'm like, I don't take that on, but I know a million people who do. Like, here's 3 names, you know? So, yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Instead of competitors, I just always think coworkers. So I'm like, oh, look, we're all going to work today with my coworkers. Like, how y'all doing?
Yes, it is
like,
so
that's how
funny.
I feel.
That's so funny that you say that, Cammie, because I had actually met Diana from Chasing Lenny a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about that too, because she's another watercolor artist, and she was just talking about how lonely it can be sometimes in this industry, because we don't have coworkers, because we don't really have that normal like job, and so we were literally just talking about how we feel like each other's coworkers, and it's so true. Like, as much as I just despise social media sometimes, it has been so great to connect with other artists and people that are doing what I'm doing, because I don't know how else we would all find each other, honestly. So yeah, not employees. You know, I don't have employees or coworkers, but I feel like I do kind of online, and it's weird, but it's true.
I know. And it's also very inspiring too. Like when I see like you or anyone else for that matter, like doing something awesome, I'm like, dang, that is so exciting. I'm so excited for them. Like I get like excited to see their growth because it's like more growth for our entire industry as a whole. So like it really is the whole like rising tide lifts all boats thing again. I mean, I know it's cliche and it's a quote, whatever, but it's so true. And like if we have that mindset instead of being like, oh, they're taking a piece of my pie, then it's like we can go in with like a much healthier mentality of what it actually looks like to be, you know, in this community of the creative industry instead of just being all weird about everything.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And that doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I was going to say,
someone's
disclaimer.
hopping in your DMs and you're like, nah, I'm good. You know, I don't want to answer that. But genuine relationship is so important.
True. I mean, and it takes strength too to not just give in to everybody that tries to hop in your DMs. And, you know, I think people mean well, but it could also be, you know, people just taking advantage of you and not really wanting to build that community. So, you know, there is discernment for sure in what you share and stuff like that.
Yeah. And if people listening do have questions about like Instagram etiquette and what you can ask other creatives and not ask them, just go back to the episode about why Laura Hooper blocked me on Instagram. You'll learn a whole lot from it. That's like one of our first. I think it's like the 4th episode of all time.
Yes, I love that one.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. She never reached out, but it's cool.
I only cry every once in a while.
Oh man, I deserved it. Okay. Anyways, so what do you think, Kelsey, about like the question that people ask all the time? You touched on this a little bit about, is the market really that saturated? I hear this all the time. So can you kind of give us your perspective on that phrase a bit?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear this a lot too. And I think that's just going back to what you guys were saying about, you know, scarcity mindset. It's so interesting whenever I'm out and people are asking, you know, what do you do? And I tell them, and they are so fascinated. They have like never met anyone that does what I do. So I'm like, oh, really? Because that's all I see all day online, you know? Everyone's doing what I'm doing. But that's just because that's the little bubble that I've surrounded myself with. But when I'm out in the wild, nobody has ever met a stationer or a watercolor artist. And they have so many questions and are just like, this is so cool. Hey, look what this girl does. Just blah, 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 blah. And then it's like mind blowing to me. But yeah, so I don't think we're really that saturated. I think that it's just because we're in this little bubble of fellow artists, which is great, but you tend to just kind of get blinded
Yeah. You're an actual unicorn to those people. For real.
For real. Yeah.
I completely agree. Like, we are literally just like looking at a bubble all day. And then when you're out in the wild, people are like, what? An artist? That is absolutely crazy. Like, they've never heard of it. So, I mean, and you think of like how many clients you can actually take on a year. Like, there's so many clients available to you. Like, you can only take on so many. There's plenty that are not going to be a good fit and plenty that are going to be a good fit. And there's never like, I never feel like, oh, Kelsey got a client, I could have had her. Like, I never have felt like that, you know?
Yeah.
But we are just like stuck in that little bubble of everything we do. But once you're outside of it, you know, it becomes like a whole different perspective. So it's just like understanding that too.
There's so much to go around, and we all have different audiences too. It's not like we all have the same followers or the same sphere of influence. Like, everyone touches different people. So even if the market is quote unquote saturated, we all have different audiences. So it's not like everyone's saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we all do like totally different work, you know, like, yes, you and I are both watercolor artists, but our work looks totally different. So if someone's like, hey, I want watercolor, like it can come to this like little watercolor section, but then they're looking around at all these artists and they're like, oh, there's so many different types of styles available to me. And like, when you start to like hone in on your unique design perspective, like then it just becomes even more like, you lose that mentality of like, oh, it's saturated, because you're like, there's no one else like me.
Right.
So that kind of like falls off once you become more confident in what you're offering.
Absolutely.
Love it. So let's transition then to talk a little bit about just your involvement, obviously, in our community, Kelsey, the A to Z directory, and Biz Birthday Bash in general. So if you're willing to share how that has helped you in your business, I mean, we would love to hear.
Totally. So whenever you guys did your first, the
Biz Bash bundle thing.
No. Like the very first project, the Ideal Project Challenge. Sorry.
Yes.
So that was kind of like, maybe I'm wrong, but whenever you guys were really jumping into Biz Birthday Bash and creating this like empire that it is now, you guys did like an Ideal Project Challenge. And it was so like groundbreaking to me. And it's such a simple concept, but it was just like, oh, why have I never thought to do this? To create the ideal project that I would want to do. Even if it's not for a client, create your ideal project for your ideal client and just put that out in the world, and it will attract, your ideal client. I was like, that's brilliant. And so whenever I did that challenge with you guys and everyone in that community, it was so much fun to see what everyone was like, what their ideal project would be and all this. And when I did that, I just had so much fun with it. And after I like put it out there, you had like a end date of when everyone was like going to share their projects. I booked 3 clients from just sharing those. It was like the first save the dates I had ever like shared.
What?
And yes, I was like, what the heck?
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. And so I was like, it was so helpful, and it just propelled, pretty much propelled me into what I'm doing now, and which is what I love to do. And I have always loved wedding invitations. I have a drawer full of all the wedding invitations I've ever received. And so, but my problem was starting out, I had no idea like where to start. I had no idea like how to do anything, how to create it into a final product. Just so many questions. The envelopes, how do you do the envelope printing? How do you create liners? How do you even format what an invitation looks like to be printed? How do you format it for printing? Like all these questions. And so you guys in the Biz Birthday Bash community and the A to Z directory has seriously just helped answer so many questions and like unknown and fear that I had, and just made it, you guys kind of just like made it into little bite-sized chunks where it was digestible and it was easy to understand. And you guys gave me the confidence to just be able to just do it. And even if it wasn't going to be perfect, at least just trying and having those resources just was a huge, huge part of, what I do now. And it's just been such a great journey to be on with you guys.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna freaking cry right now. Oh man, I think I remember your save the date you did for the Ideal Project Challenge. Did it have stripes? And it
yes,
was
yes.
Okay, yes, I remember. That was so fun. We need to do that again. But
it was like a watercolor venue, and that's like what everybody wants, me to do for them.
And it's so funny because your style really reflects that first Ideal Project Challenge you did. Like, I really do feel like that was like set the tone for your entire business, which is crazy. Awesome. But I didn't really think about it coming from the Ideal Project Challenge. Like, I'm just now connecting the dots, but I'm like, oh, Atlanta. Yes. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel so validated.
Now I'm like convinced. Oh, Cami and I have bounced this around for so long. Like, we're convinced that we need to do it again at some point. Mm-hmm. But we're all about like, we try to choose things like really wisely and present them really well. Does that make sense? Yeah. We have like a million things. Oh my gosh, we have like a million ideas all the time. We're like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And we've really found that our strength has been like honing in on the few things that we can do really well consistently all the time to serve people. But that being said, I think I did create like a little automated version of the Ideal Project Challenge at some point. Mm-hmm. I just never published it. So, people keep asking for it. So I should probably get back on that. What do you think, Cami?
I know, but it's so fun to do it all together.
I know. Mm-hmm. That's part of the magic of it.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh, yeah. That community was so awesome. It's cool to see what everyone was doing. And it's so funny that kind of quote you just said, Elizabeth, I wrote down, successful people do consistently what others do occasionally. And that's just a huge like motivator to just keep going, when it does get hard or when it does feel saturated, or I just want to be like, oh, there's already too much of this. I don't need to put this out there. It's like, no, just be consistent. That's what will help you be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And too, another point about the market being saturated. Here's a little like hint, you guys. It's saturated because it works, okay? It's saturated because there's success to be had in that. And it means you're not like having to pave the way doing an entirely new thing. Like, it makes it easier for you, honestly. So that's my other little tangent about being saturated, because that just means that there are people doing it successfully, so you can too.
Yeah.
It's just really
people want it. People are asking for it.
Yeah, there's like a market for it.
And demand. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Why are there so many taco shops? It's because tacos are awesome.
I was literally about to say the same thing. I was like, tacos, for example. There's like 10 taco restaurants in like a 5-mile radius. Like, here. So, and
tacos are great.
And they all do them slightly different and different price points. And so it's fine. Everyone loves tacos. So
that should have been the podcast heading. Everyone loves tacos.
It could still be. You never know. You never know what we're going to do. We're crazy. Okay, so talking more about the A to Z directory, what has been like your favorite thing of being a member of the directory?
Oh my goodness. Just how easy, like my favorite thing is just how easy it is to hop on there and find what I'm looking for. Instead of Googling for hours, instead of having to bug other people and ask them, oh, how'd you do this? Or where's this? Or where'd you source this? I can just go on the directory and look. I was telling Elizabeth the other day, I was on a phone call with the client and she was just asking questions about day of goods and options for different kinds of things. And I literally just hopped on the directory as we were on the phone. It was just giving her ideas of things we could do. So it's like things I don't even know are possible and she doesn't even know are possible, but it's just because we don't know what we don't know. And once we're on the directory and I'm like looking through, oh, we can do this, or we can do like little matchboxes as thank you gifts, or, gift tags, or, literally like hand towels. I don't know, like monogrammed, literally anything. So enamel pins, just so many things. And so it's just exciting. And it's hard to pick just one thing that I love about the directory, because I've been a member for, this year will be 3 years, and I feel like I've only used like half of it. There's still so much more I could use, and I'll be able to as I continue to grow.
Oh, thank you, Kelsey. Yes. Are you like back on Facebook right now? I can't remember.
No, I'm not. And I tell you what, the only reason I would ever get back on Facebook would be to just be a part of the A to Z directory group. I mean, that would literally be the only reason.
We have a lot of people who are like, I'm only in here. I'm only on this platform for this group.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because, yeah, we've definitely done polls before, like for people, like, do you want to stay on Facebook? Do you want to try a different platform? And every time we think about moving it, we just like get scared because it is working really well, even though like people don't like Facebook. But I think that's a really amazing point too, is that like you're still very much part of our community in this resource, even if you don't participate in the Facebook group. And like you said, you're renewing yours for the 3rd year now. Just like the directory aspect of it, of having all those resources at your fingertips. So that's really encouraging because I think Cammie and I are always like strategizing. We're like, how can we get people to stay? You know, like with like our fingers, like, what do we need to do to keep them around? But I don't know. I think we're doing like a lot of things like right. And you can't keep everybody all the time, you know?
Right.
The biggest thing I've seen lately is people changing careers actually, or transitioning into something different, or because of COVID, you know, maybe they have gone back to work in a different aspect and aren't focusing on their business right now.
But even I was thinking, like, even if you are like just a crafty person, you know, or stay at home parent or stay at home mom or whatever, like there's so much in there that you can do that's just crafty and creative. And if you love making stuff or even just making gifts for people, you know, most of
just for funsies, like you could do all kinds of stuff.
I know, I'm like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? It's like worth it a million times over, and I just don't get it. Come on, people.
I know, like literally I would pay for it just to have it all in one place because I forget what vendors I use sometimes, like, or like the ones I'm like, oh, I need to remember that for next time. But when I have that list, I can be like, oh yeah, they were under here. Or also like idea generation, like now I'll just scroll into the directory and just like scroll through and be like, what can I do? And like click through some of the vendors and then see like, are they offering anything new or something like that I could do something different? Like, it's just really fun.
Which is so funny because like Cammie and I made this thing and we ourselves use it all the time. We use our own resource, which I actually think is a great sign. Like it means we love it. We did a good job. So what were you going to say, Kelsey?
Oh no, you're fine. I love that you guys are your biggest fans. It's like, hey, I use it. I love it. So I would be that way too. Something that really just like was so daunting to me when I first started doing invitations was the thought of putting files together. For some reason, like I got the crafty stuff, I've got the client communication. It was just like executing the how to. And so something that was super daunting to me before was like doing letterpress or foil, just because I had literally no idea what the heck. So what's also so great is the directory itself is amazing, but the vendors within it are awesome too. So I was calling to like 3 different letterpress vendors and foil vendors within the directory, and they were all so helpful. And like that was something that I was really scared of was, you know, I have no idea how to like what to even say. Like I didn't know what font point was or making strokes on a line or whatever, you know. So the companies on there that I talked to were so helpful, and I just prefaced it by being like, this is my first time. I have no idea what I'm doing. And they were all more than willing to help walk me through the process, which was just really great.
That makes me so happy to hear that too. Like that's an element that obviously is like far beyond our control, right?
Exactly.
Like how people are treated when they go to a vendor on the list. And we have definitely had situations before where we have maybe had to readdress certain things on the list just because we're like, is this causing too many problems? But from an education standpoint, that's so nice to hear that those people are continuing to help you on your journey and explain to you. I will never forget when I was printing my own wedding invitations in 2015, I wanted letterpress. And when I called a letterpress company in Seattle to ask them for some help, they were incredibly, I don't know if I want to say like dismissive. I think dismissive is the right word, of just being like, yeah. Like, well, you just have to like submit it like this, and this, and like nothing else, which also could totally be like placement our location country-wise too, and just like the pace of life and things like that. But
True.
I'm glad to hear that the people that you have reached out to have been so wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't called them all on the list because there's a lot.
Well, you better get on it and give us the full report because we need to know.
I will. So I'm going to do it as soon as I get off the phone.
No, but that's kind of what we use the Facebook group for too, is like when people be like, oh, I had a conversation with this vendor. It was super awesome. They did this, or they kind of didn't handle this part well. And we call those like our fender benders. So we're able to like keep up with those, which so the Facebook group just kind of like dives further into that.
That's so great.
I think it's really helped to for people to identify that certain vendors have strengths and weaknesses, right? So there is like a printer in the directory that if people want to go to and they're like, I have one color green and all these greens have to match identically on every card of my suite, I'm like, do not use this person for this instance. They are great for everything else. They are not the person you go to for color matching. And so being able to like guide people in that way too.
Just all the nuancy things. Yeah. Things.
Yep. Yes. For
extremely nuanced. So Kelsey, this might be hard to like quantify per se, but how many friends, real life or otherwise, have you created through either just like Instagram community in general with stationers or through the A to Z directory? Just like online, like friends, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny because I feel like in our parents' day and age, it was not cool to meet your friends online. Or, but now it's just so much a part of our life that it's not weird anymore. And it's so funny because a lot of I'd say about half of my inquiries and my clients, when I send them their questionnaire on like, how did you two meet? A lot of them have said dating apps, online. So it's just the changing ways of our society. But I've made so many friends through, Instagram and through the directory. And it was so funny before the podcast, I was on you guys' Instagram and just like looking at our mutual friends to see like, oh, who do I know? Who's like going with the BBB like that I know, And so I was like, oh my gosh, all these people that I didn't even know that I like know in real life too. And so not all these people, like 10 people, but but still it's exciting. And I've made like, obviously you, Elizabeth, you're one of my great friends, and Cammie, you are too. You're just like so fun to follow along with. And I just love, what you guys are putting out there. But it's crazy. Like I've met people on Instagram that have like moved to Tennessee and now we like hang out. And so it's crazy how people have just been put in each other's lives through something as silly as an app. But I really think that it's on purpose, and it's just really, I'm fortunate and thankful that we do have this, group of creatives that are like-minded. And I couldn't count how many people. I mean, it's wild when you really think about it. And it's easy to lose like sight of because it is such a natural part of our day is logging on to Instagram and like just keeping up with people. But when you really think about it, I'm like, these are people that some of them I haven't even met in person and I feel so connected to. It's crazy.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I know. It's so funny because like you had mentioned Diana earlier of Chasing Linen. I feel like I've met her in person because we've like FaceTimed and all these different things. And that's how I felt with like Cammie too before like we ever met in person. And it's so funny to be like, no, wait, like I actually haven't met her in person yet.
I know.
So we'll see if she comments on my legs like Cammie did.
Yeah, you know what I said the first time I met Elizabeth? I was like, wow, I've never seen your legs. It's like a freaking creeper. It's like I've only seen your top half. And she was like, oh God. It's like, great, now I gotta stay in the room with this girl.
Yeah, so like obviously it's
creepy.
A lot less murdery than that, but it was still very funny. I was like, thank you.
I was like, wow, look at your legs. She's like, oh my God.
Cammie's like, in her mind, she's like, I'm rocking this.
Oh man.
Elizabeth, you're so much shorter than I thought you would be.
Oh my God.
See, I thought the same thing. Maybe that's why I was shocked about her legs.
She's little bitty.
I'm gonna cry. Guys, I'm laughing so hard. I have a really tall torso, okay?
Elizabeth has short legs, okay? I know because I scoped them out.
is basically a stump, and we're all towering over her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is just like, it's not the first time in my life this has happened.
Oh.
Will's best friend did the same thing to me because he had only met me on like FaceTime. And when he met me, he goes, the first thing he says to me, "You're so much shorter in person." And I was
Really?
like, oh my God. Yes, because I just like, my torso's so tall. So when I'm sitting next to somebody, I just look taller. It's a real problem. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Whew. All right, Kelsey. We
Mm.
pretty much have one last question for you. I will let Cammie ask it while I like recover over here.
Okay, yes, please recover. Okay, so what more do you want to do in 2021, and what do you maybe want to leave behind in terms of work you've been taking on?
That's a good question. This might sound weird, but I don't know that I want to necessarily do more.
I love that. You can stay maintained is good.
Yeah. I think I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, maybe just do it better. So, yeah, maybe not do more, but just do more of the same, but better.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I want to leave behind in terms of the work? Gosh.
We stumped you.
Yeah, you stumped me. I think I'm really getting into my groove now, doing this almost 3 years. I've kind of at a place where I've honed in what I really enjoy, and I'm saying no more to things that I don't want to do or that I don't find value in. So really, I'm getting to a point where I've kind of put those things behind me already, and I just want to move forward and doing better at what I'm doing and just honing my craft.
I mean, that's the dream. When you have like nothing to leave behind, it means you've already like let go of everything and that you're good. So
yes,
I love that. Like sometimes there isn't things you need to let go of or take on more. Like it's just more like maintain where you are. And that's true too, because I think people forget, like they're always like, I have to move forward, I have to do this, but like you can literally just maintain where you are and it's like totally fine.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes I'm like, do I need to be like doing all of these things? And I see this person doing this, and I love seeing, like, for instance, all that you're putting out there, Cammie, is just literally gorgeous. And I can't wait for you to have your own storefront, and I'm going to be shopping at it all the time.
Listen, I already got a place picked out. It's really cute.
I believe it, man. You can do it. And it's like, I want to cheer you on, and I love seeing what you're doing, but that doesn't mean that I have to do those things. Like, I am comfortable where I'm at, and that might change. I don't know, but we're all doing different things, and that's fine. And we don't have to all do the same thing, and that's fine too. So yeah, I really just enjoy where I'm at. I feel comfortable in doing the wedding invitations, and I truly love doing it. So that's what I want to do more of, and that's all I really want to do.
I love it, and I envy you, honestly, because sometimes I wish I could be like, I just want to do one thing, and I can't, Kelsey. I can't. I just keep chasing squirrels, and I just don't know how to chill. And I want to do that. I just don't know how to shut my brain off for a second.
You've got too much. I
thought I was doing that with wedding invitations, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make some cute cards, and now here we are. So
no, this is what happened. You did one a day in May, and then it just exploded.
It did. That was. Yes. Don't do that if you don't.
Fun, though.
The consequences. You don't even know the kind of doors will open.
We are planning on trying to do one a day in May again this year as more of a collective community thing.
Yes.
Because last year I just told Cammie, I was like, it is 2020. I don't have the energy to collectively do something through Biz Birthday Bash, but I was like, I want you to do it. I was like, you need to do one day in May with Cammie Monet, because it just
yes, it was perfect.
So we might pull it into a more official Biz Birthday Bash format this year and run that again, because it was so fun. I told Cammie, I agree. I think that was a huge turning point where she started producing these things. I was like, you're just going to blow up. I was like, you're just going to blow up, and you're not going to have not going to know what to do. You're going to have like a million orders all at the same time. So, Cami, it's not about doing less for you because you're so creative. It's about finding people who can back up your creativity. Does that make sense? Like people who are doing shipping, people who are doing production.
Yeah.
And so then you can just keep being the brilliant mind that you
Yes. Your ideas are like
gosh.
you're so unique and gifted, and there's just no one like you out there.
You guys are giving me a major ego boost right now. Like I'm just like beaming. I'm like, Ara,
you're amazing.
Oh my Lanta. Well, thanks guys. All shucks.
So great. Well, I think
Elizabeth, you're cool too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm chill. It's so funny because like I'll share like eventually how my business is changing, but my business is changing a lot, like so much more outside of like weddings and like products and this and that. And so
no, you're like such an educator, and I've learned so much from you too, and just that facet of owning a business. So you definitely have contributed to like the book smarts and like, you know, that whole logistical side of things for sure.
Elizabeth is like the best like production manager. She's like, this is what's gonna happen. Here's how we're gonna execute it. Okay, you do this, and I'm like, okay. Like she's like the container that contains all the chaos and makes things happen. Like
and Cami's the energy that keeps it going on the days where I'm like, I cannot do anything.
Yes. That's so great.
It's a great partnership and balance. No, I've totally learned to like embrace my strengths in that way 100%. So yeah, I'm sorry to like loop back to this again, but back to the whole community over competition. I do think that people ask that question a lot since Cami and I run a business together, like if we compare ourselves to one another. And I can genuinely say that I feel like we're so blessed in our partnership because that's never really been a thing for me. Besides like 2020, when I was just feeling like overall very confused about where I was in life. And
not alone.
Yes, not alone. So many other people were going through that. But I can genuinely say that like every time Cami does something amazing, I'm like incredibly enthusiastic and excited for her, and like
I'm also confused. It's fine. It just comes out in different ways.
Yeah, vice versa. And when I do something, Cami celebrates me just as much. So we should just be the celebration society. I'm
making party pennants for everybody.
You get a party pennant. You get a party pennant.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are really cute.
I know, they're so cute. That's a whole nother, oh man, I could talk about those for an hour.
Oh geez.
But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So Kelsey, tell our audience where they can find you on social.
You can find me on Instagram at k.kelley, and that's EYKELLEY designs. So at Kelley Designs. And that's it.
Perfect.
That's all I got going on.
And your website's the same, right? kkelleydesigns.com if anyone wants to check that out.
Find me on the interwebs, and my email is kkelleydesigns info.
You don't have to give your email.
Yeah, and your mailing address. Oh, no,
your phone number. Okay. Social security. Okay.
Give me a call.
But thanks for coming on, Kelsey. Obviously, this was so much fun. And since we're all like real life friends, it was like extra tangential, which I love. And do we all have side parts? Because holla, we all have side parts, I'm pretty sure. Wait, Kelsey, do you have a side part?
It changes day to day, but yeah.
We are all old and rocking our side parts, and we just love Kelsey. So thank you for coming on.
I love you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Everyone, have a wonderful day. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes if you have a moment. Just let us know how much you're loving the show. It really helps other people find us. And if you have any questions for us, you can always ask us through Q and Cake on our website. So go to bizbirthdaybash.com. If you scroll down to the footer of the site, you can click on Q and Cake and you can leave us a little question there.